My best friend was foraging for wild vegetables in the hills behind the village when she stepped on a leftover landmine. My partner, Chen Weidong, was determined to trade his life for hers to get her out of there. I tried to talk him out of it, telling him it wouldn't work. Then I tumbled down the hill to fetch the village chief, who went to town to find an expert. My best friend was saved, yet in the dead of winter, she pushed me into the frozen river, as I struggled to climb out. Chen Weidong hurled a rock at me, knocking me back into the icy water. It's all your fault for wasting time. Because of you. Meow Meow was so terrified she wet herself and was humiliated in front of everyone. Just die. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to this day, the day we went up the mountain to forage for wild herbs. May you be stuck with each other forever, a perfect match made in hell. Chen Weidong declared with unwavering resolve. Meow Meow, I'm coming to save you. The moment you lift your foot, I'll put mine down in its place. That way, you'll be safe. Weidong, if you save me, what will happen to you? For you, getting a little hurt is nothing. I'm willing to do it. As the familiar dialogue echoed in my ears, I realized I had been reborn. In my past life, I was too panicked, only urging him not to do it because it was too dangerous. I had completely failed to perceive the deep affection in those words. I was such a fool. Running off to find the village chief, I ended up tumbling down the hillside. My face was a mess and my arm was covered in blood. Forget Chen Weidong and He Miao being ungrateful. They actually teamed up to do me in. At that thought, I immediately raised my voice and called out, Chen Weidong, do you have feelings for He Miao? He Miao's face flushed crimson. Cece, don't say that. Weidong's feelings are for you, not me. Chen Weidong squinted his eyes, scrutinizing me. It was a terrifying gaze, chilling me to the bone like the threat of a raised stone. Even as I trembled, there was no way back for me. You coward, if you like He Miao, just say it. I wish you two a lifetime of happiness. He Miao cooed sweetly. Weidong, do you really like me? Chen Weidong confessed with deep affection. Yes, you've always been the one I've liked the most in my heart. He Miao's face flushed crimson, and she said bashfully, but what about Cece? I took several steps back. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. As long as you two are happy, that's all that matters. Chen Weidong was taken aback for a moment, then said with a hint of mockery, you make it sound so easy. Doesn't it hurt? The person I like isn't you, you bastard. It doesn't hurt at all. But to make a clean getaway, I forced myself not to blink, squeezing out tears. As the tears fell, I turned and walked away. From behind, He Miao hurriedly comforted her. Cece, don't be upset. You can't blame yourself for matters of the heart, Chen Weidong shouted. Even though I don't have feelings for you, we're still good friends. Don't forget about that job opportunity. Why on earth would I be upset? I'm over the moon. Chen Weidong was actually quite decent to both me and He Miao. In my past life, I always thought his kindness to He Miao was just a favor to me. In reality, his affection for He Miao came from the heart. The so-called kindness he showed me was just passing on He Miao's leftover snacks or the clothes and dresses she no longer wanted. I was completely lost in the gentle illusion he had created for me, never once seeing through it. His love for He Miao ran so deep that he was willing to die for her, even to kill and sacrifice me for her sake. Yet, Chen Weidong was terrifyingly hypocritical. Just because my uncle's factory had a permanent staff position, he confessed his feelings for me. Once their relationship was official, the job was practically his for the taking. In this lifetime, that job is one thing he will never get his hands on. He wants to be with He Miao, two hearts beating as one for a lifetime. Well, I wish them eternal happiness together. He has no experience with bomb disposal. The slightest mishap, that would be interesting. After I decisively left, Chen Weidong and He Miao stared at each other, their gazes locked. If not for the fact that He Miao was standing on a landmine, they were definitely going to end up in a passionate embrace. Chen Weidong could only settle for a quick kiss on He Miao's cheek to take the edge off. Still unsatisfied, he grabbed at He Miao a few more times. He Miao's legs went weak, and things almost got out of hand. Her eyes were red-rimmed and pleading. Weidong, come take over for me, quick. Chen Weidong's heart sank, and a flicker of reluctance stirred within him. He could have offered on his own, but once the other person brought it up, it was a different matter entirely. I don't know how. He Miao was stunned. Just do it the way you said before. Hearing this only made Chen Weidong more uneasy. This isn't a simple matter. It's a matter of life and death. He's about to land a proper job. What's he going to do if something goes wrong? He suddenly remembered Li Cece, who had run off. He wished he'd sent her to get help. The more He Miao urged him to hurry, the more Chen Weidong held back. Chen Weidong couldn't help but regret saying, to save her, he was willing. The reason he said this, on one hand, was because he was Li Sisi's boyfriend, and saying something suggestive to He Miao was thrilling. On the other hand, it was because he knew that Li Sisi would definitely worry and would certainly try to stop him from taking He Miao's place. The more Chen Weidong thought about it, the more agitated and apprehensive he became. Chen Weidong. You just said you liked me, but you won't even help me. Are you even a man? Chen Weidong hated nothing more than being called not a man. As an unemployed layabout living at home, he heard those words from his family constantly, and it drove him up the wall. He retorted mockingly, of course I'm a man, you seem to be enjoying yourself just fine a moment ago. He Miao didn't want to talk about this. She stood frozen, her entire body crawling with a sensation like 1,000 ants. In an urgent tone, if you won't swap with me, then go find someone to save me. Chen Weidong breathed a sigh of relief and took off running down the stairs. Wait for me, meow meow. He Miao burst into tears, overwhelmed with a sense of injustice. I was at home, humming a tune while cooking. I was absolutely thrilled to have finally shaken off Chen Weidong and He Miao. I was just waiting to see Chen Weidong get his legs blown off. When I looked up and saw him standing in my yard, so. That coward Chen Weidong was lying when he talked about trading his life for another's. Sisi, I'm exhausted, hurry up and bring me some water, he gasped. I pretended not to hear him, chopping vegetables with the kitchen knife. Thump, thump, thump. Chen Weidong rushed up to me. Li Sisi, are you deaf? Can't you hear me talking? I raised the kitchen knife and pointed it at him, demanding, you're dating me, but you say you like He Miao, how dare you even show your face at my house? Chen Weidong choked up for a moment, scratching the back of his head. I only said that because I was afraid Meow Meow would be scared, and I was trying to ease her nerves. The truth is, I like you, you're the only one who's ever been in my heart. Well, isn't that something? I've just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. I just came down from the mountain and ran into my uncle. He was heading to town to sort out a job for me, wasn't he? Just wait until I get my pay, then I'll marry you. Don't you worry, I'll get you all the 3 rounds and a sound, the works. My face was a picture of utter contempt, not just for him, but for myself as well. I must have been blind to have ever liked someone like him, all because of his silver tongue. He had me completely fooled, without waiting for me to say a word. Chen Weidong turned and ran off on his own. I'm going to find someone to defuse the landmine. Once we've rescued He Miao, I'll make things clear with her. How amusing. Chen Weidong still managed to save He Miao. This time, He Miao's incontinence was even worse. The stench of urine and feces was all there. It was mainly because Chen Weidong had taken even longer this time. After some intimacy and arguing on the back hill, when they came down, it wasn't like how I had tumbled down. He went to find the village chief, but the chief wasn't at the village committee office. He then went to look for him at villagers' homes, and after that, he headed to the town. All this back and forth stretched the time out even further. He Miao certainly made a name for himself. Without saying a single word of thanks to Chen Weidong, she went home in tears. After a moment's thought, Chen Weidong decided to follow her anyway. That night, Chen Weidong slipped into He Miao's room. He Miao was cold to him at first, but Chen Weidong pulled out all the stops to win her over. The delay was all because of my job situation. Because I like you, Li Sisi won't give me the job anymore. How am I supposed to afford to marry you then? So I talked myself hoarse trying to convince Uncle Li to help me find a job in town. Once I get my first month's pay, I'll buy you white rabbit candies, a floral dress, take you shopping at the department store, and treat you to braised pork at a fancy restaurant. He managed to coax He Miao's face into turning as red as a monkey's bottom. He Miao was secretly delighted, yet a small, nagging discomfort lingered in her heart. She whispered softly, but I smell bad. Chen Weidong leaned in, sniffed her cheek, and said, you smell nice. Then he sniffed her neck and added, really nice. Moving down in order, she sniffed again, it smells even better here. And here, it's even more fragrant. He Miao had completely forgotten about blaming Chen Weidong for the embarrassing incident. The two of them secretly did everything they shouldn't have. Before making his relationship with He Miao public, Chen Weidong came to my house to ask about the job. My dad said the job was all settled. Once he knew the job was a done deal, he shot me a smug grin. Li Sisi, with Uncle Li here as a witness, it's probably best we clear some things up. You remember what happened on the back hill, right? I nodded. Of course, you were the one who gave me away. You're not going to deny that we're over, are you? That's right, we've broken up. Chen Weidong was overjoyed to hear this and couldn't stop smiling. Good, Uncle Li, you heard that. Cece and I have split up. Don't be upset about it, even though I can't be your son-in-law. I'll treat you just like a real nephew and take good care of you. He said all the right things, then flitted off looking rather pleased with himself. He didn't see my dad's unsurprised face. My dad already knew about me and Chen Weidong breaking up. He just asked with concern, "Are you really not upset, sweetheart?" I linked my arm through his. Not at all. In this day and age, the fact that my parents withstood the pressure to have only one daughter, me, was already something people criticized. It wasn't easy for them, and in a past life, they even lost me forever. In this lifetime, I am determined to fulfill my filial duties properly. Chen Weidong and He Miao made a high-profile public announcement of their relationship. He Miao's exploits on the back hill have once again become a hot topic of conversation. He Miao is out of her mind. She doesn't blame Chen Weidong, but instead, she comes after me. In front of all the village gossips, she called me a faithless coward who abandons friends in a crisis. They accused me of going back on my word, saying I went down the mountain to find an expert, only to turn around and head straight home. He Miao and I were originally on good terms. When a close friend stabs you in the back, the betrayal hits differently. Even my parents got dragged into it and became the subject of gossip. I went straight to the broadcast station and aired Chen Weidong and He Miao's intimate conversation from the back hill over the loudspeakers. I cried my heart out. They say many of the men, women, and children who heard the broadcast were wiping away tears right along with me. That day, I walked out of the broadcast station with my eyes red and swollen. My eyes were so swollen they were just slits. It made everyone believe I wasn't a coward, just a victim who'd been wronged. When I got home, I rushed to wash my eyes. That chili powder was incredibly potent. Chen Weidong and He Miao couldn't hold their heads up in the village anymore. Chen Weidong was scolded by his family. He Miao was beaten by her father with a cane. The two of them put their heads together and decided to move to town and rent a place. The Chen family paid $50 and took He Miao as a bride. Chen Weidong thumped his chest and promised he'd make up the sewing machine once he officially started the job. He Miao's eyes were fixed on Chen Weidong. The day finally arrived to start work at the factory in town. After getting ready, I slung my bag over my shoulder and headed for town. I'd just reached the factory gate when I ran into Chen Weidong and He Miao. Chen Weidong looked at me with utter contempt. "Li Cece, have you no shame? You followed me all the way here," I scoffed. "Which of your beady little eyes saw me following you? If you hadn't opened your mouth, I wouldn't have even noticed you." "You." He Miao held on to Chen Weidong's arm, gently patting his chest to soothe him. "Don't stoop to her level. She's just a brat with a foul mouth, no grace at all. No one would ever marry her. Now that you're working here, you're a person of status. We shouldn't lower ourselves by squabbling with such petty, common people. It creates a bad impression, and you're on track to become a director." He Miao was, as always, being a manipulative little schemer. Back when Chen Weidong and I were dating, she would constantly tell him to my face that I was naughty, unruly, and disobedient. I was foolish enough to think she was complimenting my liveliness and energy. In reality, she was subtly putting me down. I cleared my throat and called out, "He Miao, you're right. Speaking to you lot is beneath me." I took out my job assignment notice and entered the factory. Chen Weidong started shouting in a commotion. "How did she get in? Why can she go in? But I can't. I'm here to work. It's my first day." "So isn't it perfectly normal you don't know me? Let me in right now, or you'll regret it." He Miao chimed in accusingly. "Comrade, I'm going to report you for dereliction of duty." After completing the onboarding formalities, I sat at my desk in an exceptionally good mood. This was a completely new life, utterly different from my past one. Chen Weidong made a rather disheveled appearance in the office. Standing before the supervisor, he pointed at me and declared with righteous indignation, "Sir, I, Chen Weidong, am formally reporting that Li Cece has illegally taken over my job." The supervisor was taken aback. "So you're Chen Weidong." Hearing this, Chen Weidong immediately broke into a wide, ingratiating smile and scurried to pour the supervisor a glass of water. "That's right, it's me. You know who I am, don't you? That position was rightfully mine, and Li Cece took it. You can't just let this mistake stand, you know. If this whole mess comes to light, it won't be pleasant for you either." The boss's face changed. Get out of here. You think a piece of trash like you can threaten me?" Chen Weidong's mouth twitched, and he said with a hint of guilt, "What are you implying?" I said, "Get out. Do I need to spell it out for you?" The boss made a show of standing up and shoving Chen Weidong toward the door. He grew frantic. Stop pushing him, that job belongs to my Wei Dong. What gives you the right to hand it over to Li Sisi without asking? We're going straight to the factory director, the boss hurriedly said. Don't go. Chen Weidong wore a smug look. Who do you think you are? We're going. It was you who pulled the strings behind the scenes and gave my job to Li Sisi. You'll see. Chen Weidong and he left. The boss looked at me and raised an eyebrow. How was my performance just now? I gave a thumbs up. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Following a master like you, this apprentice is sure to live the high life. Chen Weidong still thought the job was his. I actually managed to catch my dad just as I ran down from the back hill and got home. He was just about to ride his bike into town to sort out a job. I quickly told him I wanted the job. Dad was really surprised. Since he never wanted to give that job to Chen Weidong in the first place, I had to beg and plead with my dad, making a huge scene, before he finally agreed. He asked me with great concern if something had happened to make me change my mind. I told him I didn't like Chen Weidong anymore and that we had broken up. Only then did Dad believe me, and he left the house in high spirits. I did, however, ask my dad to keep it under wraps for me. I was worried that when the list was made public, Chen Weidong might report some discrepancy. At a time like this, even if you've done nothing wrong, you're still afraid of being reported. Once someone files a report against you, trouble is sure to follow. Factories are also subject to performance evaluations. Due to an individual's actions, our factory missed out on the recognition it rightfully deserved. This led to a reduction in the rewards that the employees were entitled to. This entire chain reaction of consequences is something we must bear responsibility for. Fortunately, no incidents occurred during the public announcement period for my name. Back then, Chen Weidong was too wrapped up in his romance with He Miao to even think about checking the public notice. Ultimately, he was convinced that nothing could possibly go wrong with the job. Through the window, I watched as Chen Weidong and He Miao were escorted out by security personnel. The security guards all wore stern expressions. They were a formidable bunch, tall, burly, and radiating authority. He Miao's eyes were red and brimming with tears. She flung her arms about. Her voice choked with sobs. Don't you touch me. I can walk by myself. There was no chivalry to be found here. In no time at all, the details of the incident where Chen Weidong and He Miao caused a huge scene in the factory director's office had spread throughout the entire plant. Chen Weidong barged into the office, kicking the door open on his way in. The arrogance with which he entered was matched only by the humiliation with which he left. I've become a somebody now, even when I go for lunch. The cafeteria lady gives me an extra scoop of meat with my rice. To quote her exactly, listen, girl, eat more, put on some weight, then no one will dare to pick on you. That evening, I rode my bike home, fearing that Chen Weidong might be lying in wait for me. I took a detour. It wasn't until I could finally see my house in the distance that my anxiety began to ease. We were almost there, when Chen Weidong suddenly jumped out. Sisi. I hopped off my bike and looked at him warily. What is it? What do you want? Don't be scared. I'm not going to hurt you. I just need to clarify something. Didn't you say you were giving the job to me? So why are you back at work? We're over. So, the job offer is off the table. Do I really need to spell out the connection? Chen Weidong was still confused, but, the job was finalized before we broke up. How could you? My eyes widened. What are you talking about? We split the day He Miao stepped on that landmine. Chen Weidong's expression turned to disbelief. That long ago. I'm done talking. Tell him to let go of my car. He didn't let go. Pleading, can we get back together? I hit the nail on the head. You want this job, don't you? He slowly nodded. Now, Chen Weidong and He Miao are renting a place in town with no income to speak of. On top of that, after causing a scene at the factory and having to pay $20 in compensation, their pockets were completely empty. I stared at Chen Weidong and said, word by word, I was the one who handed you over. You're not going to deny that we split up, are you? I threw those exact words right back at him. Chen Weidong's face was ashen, his clenched fists making the handlebars tremble. A vicious look crossed his face. I don't care. You have to get back together with me. I want you back. He yanked the bicycle away and flung it to the ground. He reached out, about to grab me in a hug. I scrambled to run away, but he was bigger and stronger than me. I was no match for him. I managed only a couple of shouts before his hand clamped tightly over my mouth. Chen Weidong's eyes gleamed. Sisi, don't blame me. This is the only way. He actually intended to take advantage of me. I cried out in fury. Chen Weidong, let go of me. You'll be executed for this. he was unafraid. You wouldn't. Does he still think, even now, that I have feelings for him and wouldn't dare go to the police? Or is he convinced I'll just swallow this injustice, too ashamed to let this matter come to light? Chen Weidong gazed at me with deep affection. I'll treat you right, he said. Chen Weidong, let go of my daughter this instant. My father arrived with the village officials and others in tow, terrified. Chen Weidong scrambled off and bolted for the door. He was caught red-handed. He covered his face, refusing to be seen. Chen Weidong was imprisoned for 10 years. He got exactly what he deserved. He meow stormed over to see me after Chen Weidong was sentenced. Li Sisi, why did you have to get my man locked up? You seduced him, and now you're turning around and blaming him. Have you no shame? She simply refused to believe that Chen Weidong was capable of such a thing. You go and clear his name right now. What's going to happen to my child? Is he supposed to be born without a father? He meow is pregnant, too. Looks like she's going to have the baby. She's in for a tough road ahead. I didn't argue with her. If she were to fly into a rage and then complain of a stomachache or something, absolutely not. That would just be helping her. She has to face the consequences of her own actions, I said calmly. Since you think I've slandered your Weidong, why don't you go and file a complaint? Go ahead and sue me. Alright. All you do is bark at me. What's the point? It's completely useless. He meow took those words to heart. She snarled. I'll prove you wrong. When Weidong is acquitted, you'll get down on your knees and kowtow to apologize to us. She actually went out to investigate. It's completely useless. But with so many witnesses, Chen Weidong's guilt is indisputable. There's no overturning this verdict. For this, he meow spent every last bit of the little money he had. She went to the Chen family, weeping and wailing. The Chens, considering she was carrying their heir, reluctantly agreed to give her a place to stay and food to eat. But did she think she could just be a freeloading pregnant woman? Absolutely not. In the early months of her pregnancy, she still worked in the fields with the others. Later on, she stayed home to cook, wash clothes, and was kept constantly busy. Finally, she gave birth. It was a girl. The Chen family threw he meow out, along with her infant less than a month old, while she was still in her postpartum confinement period. He meow then went to her own family home, only to be turned away again. She was left with nowhere to go. She even came to me with pleading eyes, saying how difficult her life had become. She asked if I could help her. She even pleaded, saying, if not for me, then for the child's sake. I completely ignored her. In the end, he meow appealed to the village committee, and they finally arranged for her to stay in an unoccupied house in the village. He meow supported her child by working odd jobs. I was working in a factory when the national college entrance exams were reinstated. I took the exam and was admitted to university. I excelled in my studies and, after graduation, stayed on at the university as a teacher. I've turned my life around. Chen Weidong was released. Not only was he ungrateful to He Miao for waiting for him and bearing his daughter, he also beat He Miao half to death. He resented He Miao. If He Miao hadn't stepped on that landmine back then, none of what followed would have happened. He would have had a proper job, he would have earned a great deal of money, and his life would have been completely different from what it is now. If He Miao hadn't egged him on, he wouldn't have offended the factory director. He might have even landed a job there. He blamed all the setbacks in his life on He Miao. After Chen Weidong beat the man up, he took off. He was gone for a month before he came back. After returning, he treated He Miao much better, no longer hitting or scolding her, but that was the extent of it. He never went out, just stayed home drinking heavily. Though helpless, He Miao quietly accepted this way of life. Just having him by her side was enough, even if it meant no money, even if it meant drinking day and night like this. He Miao didn't know what had come over her. Why was she so unable to let go of Chen Weidong? Perhaps it was because that year, when she stepped on a landmine, Chen Weidong said he would trade his life for hers. He Miao chose not to dwell on the fact that Chen Weidong hadn't kept his word. She would only remember that it was Chen Weidong who had gone to find help to save her. She would be forever grateful for this debt of kindness. That year, I returned to my hometown to visit family. As luck would have it, I ran into the whole family. Chen Weidong was gaunt and emaciated, with sunken cheeks and a hunched back, looking like a man in his 70s. He Miao's face was worn and weathered, long devoid of its former luster, her clothes a patchwork of men's. Their daughter was pale and sickly thin, looking to be only about 5 or 6 years old. In the 1980s of today, I'd become the enviable 10,000 yuan household. Among the neighbors, there's nothing but praise for me. Meanwhile, Chen Weidong and He Miao have long since become the objects of everyone's scorn. Whenever they see me now, they don't even have the nerve to walk past me. They turned around in a panic and hurried off in the other direction. Their daughter called out from behind, "Mom, Dad, where are you going? That's the wrong way." Yes, the wrong path will eventually lead to its own consequences. Next, let's hear the following story. I was reborn back to the day my husband brought his white moonlight home. The two of them watched as my mother-in-law threw me out. My sister-in-law even sneered, calling me a barren old hen. I placed my hand on my belly. Inside here is a future top-tier celebrity and the world's richest person. I passed away peacefully in my sleep, surrounded by opulence and with my children and grandchildren all around me. Before I died, I thought to myself, aside from an imperfect marriage that led to a destitute first half of my life, I truly lived the second half as a role model for all women. My only regret is that I never got to properly teach that scumbag Lu Mingyuan, who abandoned his wife and daughter, a lesson. Little did I know, when I opened my eyes again, I saw Lu Mingyuan, holding his white moonlight's hand, slide a divorce agreement across the table towards me. He couldn't help but gloat, saying, "Momo just gave birth to twin boys for me a few days ago." Young Momo held his hand, looking at me with a provocative smile. Wait, didn't I die? Why does this scene feel so familiar? Ignoring the utterly contemptible expressions on that despicable couple's faces, I quickly grabbed the iPhone in my hand. So it was October 30th, 2011, in my past life, on this very day, Lu Mingyuan divorced me. I refused to accept it. So my mother-in-law beat me fiercely with a broom, determined to drive me out. The woman the fortune teller said could bear no sons and brought no prosperity to her husband. Back then, that bizarre family had no idea I was already pregnant, and 9 months later, I would give birth to a future superstar and the world's richest person. Oh, look who's here, my sister-in-law, Lu Xianxian, couldn't hold back any longer. Seeing me hesitate to sign the agreement, she started sniping from the sidelines in that sarcastic tone of hers. Look at the one who couldn't bear a son, all heartbroken. She knows her days of freeloading are over, that she'll be out on the streets digging for wild herbs. Now she's playing dumb and refusing to sign. Hearing this, my mother-in-law panicked. She immediately rushed to the kitchen, ready to grab a broom and recreate a scene from a past life. Seeing this, Lu Mingyuan put on a show of false sincerity. "Yujia, let's just part on good terms. The agreement leaves you with an apartment and 500,000 in cash. That's more than enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life." Seeing me look up at him coldly, Lu Mingyuan sighed. Let's be honest, if Molly hadn't been forced into marriage by her family back then, I wouldn't have married you on a whim out of anger. All these years, you've had your fill of being Mrs. Lu. You should be content. Young Molly tugged at Lu Mingyuan's sleeve from the side. The house, and 500,000. I deliberately ignored the white moonlight's little gesture and let my gaze drift toward the kitchen. Just as I expected, the moment Lu Mingyuan finished speaking, the exact same scene from my past life played out again. Lu Mingyuan's mother stormed out, brandishing a broom, and shouted aggressively, Why should she get it? She's had it easy all these years and hasn't even given our family a child. Why give it to her, so she can turn around and spend it on some other man?" In my past life, it was amidst this kind of orchestrated hostility that I was beaten and driven out of the house. I tumbled down the steps and nearly had a miscarriage. After I was admitted to the hospital, Lu Mingyuan didn't even come to see me. He didn't care why I was hospitalized in the first place. All he did was bombard me with texts, pressuring me to finalize the divorce so he could legitimately register his 2 newborn sons under his name. Thankfully, I eventually gave up hope. After the divorce, I devoted myself entirely to raising the children I had brought into the world. My son is named Wang Jianjian, and my daughter is Wang Yanan. Back then, that was all I wanted, just for my children to grow up healthy and safe. I never could have imagined how things would turn out. All because of the string of outrageous stunts Lu Mingyuan pulled afterward. In the end, he actually drove the siblings to become world-renowned figures. But at this moment, I stopped dwelling on all that. Instead, I picked up the divorce agreement in front of me, casting a cold glance at the hands of that despicable couple, tightly clasped together, and the smug, gloating faces of that wretched mother-in-law and her daughter. I picked up the pen lying beside me and slowly added a supplementary clause. Addendum: Wang Yujia agrees to leave the marriage with no assets. on the condition that Lu Mingyuan relinquishes custody rights and refrains from any form of harassment or contestation regarding the children born during her marriage to him. Lu Mingyuan furrowed his brow and was about to speak. Young Momo, standing beside him, tugged at his hand again, while his mother, also nearby, wore a sneering expression. Lu Xianxian scoffed dismissively. Children, as if you could even have any. We're getting a divorce now. What children are you even talking about? Lu Mingyuan gave a nod. I couldn't help but feel a wave of bitter irony. Little did Lu Mingyuan know at the time, the child he had with young Momo wasn't even his. Later, I don't know how Lu Mingyuan found out, but once he did, he started showing up at my door every single day with his mother and sister, trying to snatch my son and daughter away. They hounded us so relentlessly, like parasites clinging to our lives, that we lost count of how many times we had to move. By the time the lawsuit was finally won, I felt as though I had aged a decade. My hair had turned much grayer. Jian and Anan, the brother and sister, had their studies disrupted because of it. Thankfully, they were determined enough to pull their grades back up through sheer hard work. Otherwise, my happy later years would never have come to be. All right. I've signed my name. Since Lu Mingyuan had nodded in agreement to my final, most dreaded condition, I didn't hesitate any longer and signed my name directly on the divorce agreement. My mother-in-law, no, my former mother-in-law, hurriedly snatched the agreement from me. Seeing the words voluntarily leaving with nothing that I had written, she grinned from ear to ear. Little did she know. The moment Lu Mingyuan finished signing, I turned and walked straight out. As I pushed open the main gate and stepped off the porch, all my strength left me. I collapsed onto the ground and burst into uncontrollable sobs. Neighbors, come out and see for yourselves. The Lu family is bringing a mistress home. They're throwing their own wife out. Not only that, they forced me to sign an agreement leaving me with nothing. They're driving me out and leaving me with no way to survive. I was shouting at the top of my lungs over there. In my past life, I'd heard that after the divorce, to pave the way for young Momo to enter the family, the Lu family spread vicious rumors about me, claiming I was having an affair and that I'd left Lu Mingyuan for a richer man. In this life, I refused to be burdened with that kind of disgrace again. My shouting brought all the neighbors who were home in the villa complex out, especially the elderly folks with nothing better to do who spend their days gossiping and snacking on sunflower seeds. Heavens above. The Lu family is treating me like this for some mistress. Lu Mingyuan, do you have a conscience? You came from the countryside. Who do you think sold the house my father left me to fund your startup and give you the life you have today? Who was it that kept saying he'd bring your mother and sister to the city for a better life? Lu Mingyuan, you heartless bastard. You're not just heartless, you're inhuman, sneaking around behind my back, having an affair, and you even have a child with her. Crying like this is a bit humiliating, but when I think about it, if I don't make a scene, I'd just be letting that despicable pair off the hook. Why should they get to enjoy the wealth I worked for, while I had to struggle for over 20 years, working menial jobs day in and day out, raising the kids on my own, and on top of that, constantly being harassed by Lu Mingyuan and that wretched woman, before he found out his 2 sons weren't his own. He was still being egged on by young Momo. They keep bullying my daughter, the future superstar, and my son, the future richest man in the world. Thinking about it, I had planned to make a big scene, but instead, all the crying and shouting just brought on a wave of self-pity. Someone in the crowd had already called the police. By the time the police arrived, Lu Mingyuan's mother was waving the agreement I signed and shouting. She chose to leave with nothing. We didn't force her. Besides, after 5 years with my son, she couldn't even produce a single child. She just lazed around the house all day, living off us, not even lifting a finger to take care of her own mother-in-law. Neighbors, be the judge. If I don't divorce this woman who can't carry on the Lu family line, is she going to make our family die out? As she spoke, she grabbed a broom, copied me, and plopped down on the ground, throwing a full-blown tantrum. This just won't do, after all. I'm the future mother of an acting legend and a singing diva. How can I possibly let her outdo me? As soon as I saw the police arrive, I immediately started shouting, neighbors, everyone, be the judge of this. All I want is a roof over my head, a place to live, and the Lu family is threatening to beat me with a broom. They said if I dare ask, they'll kill me. I pointed at the broom the old woman was still clutching tightly in her hand, my voice choked with tears. Seeing the police were about to reach us, I quickly got up, rushed over to the officers, and cried out, officers, help, they're trying to kill me. They want to kill me so he can marry his mistress. Although, It was a bit odd for an old man in his 80s like me to be calling two officers in their 20s uncle. To look at me, you'd think I was just a fresh-faced, beautiful young woman in my mid-20s. TCH, finally, Lu Mingyuan's whole family, that other woman, and I were all taken to the police station. His family made a huge scene in there for the longest time. I kept up the waterworks for a good while, and finally, through mediation, Lu Mingyuan agreed to transfer the assets I was legally entitled to. A new agreement was drafted and signed on the spot. That was my goal all along, beyond just venting my anger. For the sake of my children's future, I truly have no desire to relive the struggle of foraging for wild greens, taking odd jobs, and single-handedly raising kids again. Speaking of which, whether it's Lu Mingyuan's success or my son's future meteoric rise, none of it would be possible without the woman behind them. That woman is me, particularly thanks to this brilliant mind of mine and my photographic memory. I remember it clearly, all those investment opportunities that came one after another after 2011, in my past life. I didn't have enough capital, and on top of that, Lu Mingyuan kept harassing me. That's why I had to let each opportunity slip by, too afraid to take even the smallest risk. But in this life, I carry the memories of my past. Forget everything else, even the slightest risk. I can't allow it to happen. Walking out of the police station, agreement in hand, I was over the moon. It felt like a wonderful new life was beckoning to me with open arms. In the days that followed, after swiftly obtaining the divorce certificate, I didn't move into the house Lu Mingyuan was obligated to give me per the agreement. Instead, I rented an apartment. I knew that even with the agreement in place, the Lu family was giving in reluctantly. His mother and Lu Xianxian, that utterly bizarre mother-daughter pair, would inevitably show up to cause a scene. I didn't want to risk a repeat of my last life, where they nearly caused me to miscarry, especially now that I was newly pregnant. That is a consequence I simply cannot bear. It would be an even greater loss for the more vibrant and diverse world of the future, but I couldn't let that family off the hook, making them think I was too scared to claim what was mine. So, I deliberately hired a prestigious law firm, offering them 50% of the assets as their fee, to take care of the Lu Mingyuan family and any subsequent troubles for me. For an ordinary person, 50% would be an unimaginably huge reward, but for me, a mother who's also the wealthiest person alive with a mind full of knowledge about where the next big opportunities lie, that amount is just pocket change I could earn back in a snap. Of course, I have no way of knowing, since I've already altered the course of events. Will Jianjian and Anan still achieve the same fame and success, the same glorious life, as they did in their past life? But as a mother, even if my children in this life don't reach the same heights as before, I would still be happy. And as for money, even their mom can make money. That's insane. But for all my careful planning, I still underestimated just how shameless Lu Mingyuan and his family could be. Just 2 weeks after I moved into the rental apartment, Lu Mingyuan still managed to track me down through his connections. When the knock came at the door, I thought it was my food delivery. The moment I opened the door, I saw Lu Mingyuan standing there with his mother and a man who looked every bit like a lawyer, all waiting for me outside. Wang Yujia, what the hell is this? You think hiding out here is going to work? Dream on if you think you're getting a single penny of my son's money. Lu Mingyuan's mother, Zhang Shufan, barged in first, jabbing her finger in my face as she yelled. She then turned to her son and said, Mingyuan, search the place. She's rented this dump so far out, she must be hiding some man in here. To my surprise, Lu Mingyuan actually started looking around. Seeing this, I yelled directly, what do you think you're doing? This is trespassing. I'm calling the police. Call the police. You rented this place with my son's money, so it's his. Zhang Shufan continued to rant. I turned to the lawyer and said, are you just going to let this crazy woman carry on like this? To my surprise, the lawyer adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and said, I'm merely safeguarding my client's lawful rights and interests. Wow, so they're planning to catch them in the act. It'll make things easier when we go to court. Seriously, I stopped Lu Mingyuan and confronted him directly. How dare you, a cheater, play the victim and cry thief? Lu Mingyuan merely paused in his step. Without even turning his head, he said, I'll only leave the money to my son, Wang Yujia. Don't you dare entertain any foolish hopes. Suddenly, I remembered my past life. After I had given birth to the child, somehow, Lu Mingyuan still found out. He and his mother barged into the hospital without a word, intent on taking Jianjian away. As for Anan, she was met with Zhang Shufan's scornful click of the tongue. Just a worthless girl, what's the point of keeping her? If it hadn't been for the doctors and nurses stepping in at the time, Jian Jian would likely have been taken away by Lu Mingyuan that very day. What was even more infuriating was that, after failing to get their way, Zhang Shufan and Lu Xianxian started spreading it far and wide that I was the one having an affair and had a child with someone else, pinning all of Lu Mingyuan's wrongdoing squarely on me. The rumor about the affair and the child born within the marriage persisted, still circulating even after Jian Jian and Anan had started school. I remember it clearly. One time, a disheveled Jian Jian came home with a crying Anan, his face full of anger. I asked what had happened. It turned out that some kids at school had taunted his little sister, calling her a bastard. Her brother, furious, had gotten into a fight with them, and the source of those rumors was none other than Lu Mingyuan's two worthless sons. I was furious back then. I went to their house demanding an explanation, only to be violently thrown out by Zhang Shufan. She stood there with her hands on her hips, hurling a torrent of vile insults at me. "You shameless slut. You had the nerve to sleep around but not the guts to own up to it. Now you come begging at the Lu family's door. Take a good look at yourself. What kind of trash do you think you are? Lu family bloodline. My foot, the Lu family only has 2 grandsons. Why didn't you give birth when you were married? How come you suddenly have a child after the divorce? Everyone, look, this bastard can't find its real father, so it's come here to scam us." Every word, every scene, even at the moment of my death, the injustice of it all still burns within me. In my later years, I thought about revenge. Unfortunately, by then, the Lu family had already fallen into ruin, with their household broken and their members scattered. It looked like karma had caught up with them. But since I wasn't the one who delivered it, I still felt a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Finally, Lu Mingyuan finished inspecting my small apartment, leaving no corner unchecked, not even the closets. Looking at the messy state of the place, I shot a cold glance at Lu Mingyuan. "Had enough? Are you satisfied now?" Lu Mingyuan's face darkened. Zhang Shufan started cursing again. "Just because you haven't found it doesn't mean it's not here. I'm not leaving today. Mingyuan, get the new agreement out." As Lu Mingyuan pulled an agreement from his jacket, Zhang Shufan sat down on the sofa, grumbling and cursing under her breath. "I'll leave when you sign, and it's not just me, Attorney Lee is here too. We're prepared to wait you out." The lawyer gave a cold smirk, looking as if he had me right where he wanted me. Seeing this, I didn't argue further. They had the numbers. After all, I simply took out my phone and prepared to call the police. To my surprise, Zhang Shufan stood up and slapped the phone right out of my hand. She yelled, "Call the police. Call them for what? What have you ever done for our Lu family all these years? You've eaten our food, lived under our roof, and now you want to take half of our family's property. This is fraud," she went on. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. "According to the criminal law, trespassing on private property can." I looked out and saw that it was the same officer who had responded to the call that day. Now, however, he was out of uniform, dressed in plain clothes. He stood tall and straight, with sharp, handsome features. In his hand, he was leading a little boy dressed in a blue shirt with a Snoopy pattern, pink and adorable, probably about 5 or 6 years old. A pair of curious eyes blinked as they peeked in. When I moved in, the agent said this place was super safe because a police officer with a kid lived upstairs. It said his spouse was killed in the line of duty a few years ago while apprehending a suspect. I never would have guessed it was him. Zhang Shufan and Lu Mingyuan clearly recognized each other. Even after living in the city for a few years, the little old lady from the countryside still held a deep-seated fear of the police, even though the man was in plain clothes. "Mingyuan, I've got a sudden stomachache. Maybe we should head back for now." I never could have imagined this whole farce would end like this, watching Lu Mingyuan and the other 2 leave. I let out a long sigh of relief and couldn't help but look towards the police officer who had been standing by the door, holding the little boy's hand the whole time. Thank you," I said, stepping forward and giving a deep, 90-degree bow. My gaze just then met the little boy's in the officer's hold. His eyes were dark, bright, large, and round, unbelievably adorable. In an instant, my heart completely melted. "Ms. Wang, aren't you tired?" came a voice by my ear, clear and bright, yet with a slight huskiness. I quickly looked up again, letting out a sheepish, silly laugh. It's true, having a police officer around makes you feel so much safer. With that thought, I promptly invited them in. After all, we'd be neighbors for a while, living just upstairs and downstairs, at least until my lawsuit was settled. At that moment, thinking of his mother's sacrifice, my heart melted all over again. Yet a pang of heartache followed, such an adorable child. His mother must have been very beautiful. You can come visit Auntie sometime. I found myself waving to the little boy. The little boy nodded emphatically, and then they disappeared around the corner of the stairs. All that remained was that slightly hoarse voice. Be good. Next time someone greets you, you must say thank you. I heard a soft, gentle murmur. Before closing the door, I noticed the elevator nearby. It occurred to me that if they had just returned, it was unlikely the elevator would have stopped on my floor. It was probably the noise from Lu Mingyuan and the others that the police officer heard, prompting him to come down specifically to check. Thinking about this building, I couldn't help but smile again. Perhaps it was the added sense of security, but I was in a cheerful mood all day, stroking my belly and thinking of the twins inside. I began to look up the stock market online. I started scanning through the stocks one by one. Finally, I identified a few that I remembered had skyrocketed in value. To avoid any butterfly effect, I cautiously selected 3 of them and invested 2/3 of my capital. That way, even if something unexpected happened, it was unlikely all 3 would go south. After purchasing the stocks, I called my retained law firm. I brought up the incident with Lu Mingyuan today and made it clear that such a thing must not happen again, or I would immediately switch to a different firm. Since when does the defendant get to show up at the plaintiff's home to cause trouble? After finishing up, I lounged around cooking and binge-watching shows, probably because I knew a police officer lived upstairs. I slept incredibly soundly that night. It wasn't until noon the next day that my door was knocked on. Lu Mingyuan, will you give it a rest? I thought it was Lu Mingyuan and his crew again, but when I opened the door, what met my eyes was a face with sharp, well-defined features, and beneath his tall, straight posture was a small figure that barely reached his waist. It was the police officer and his son who lived upstairs. Seeing his stunned expression fixed on me, I quickly offered a sheepish apology. I'm so sorry, officer. I thought you were my ex-husband. A few minutes later, I found out why they had come to see me. He introduced himself first. His name was Zhou Yuan. The little boy was named Zhou Yun, and his nickname was Yun Yun. Well, Zhou Yuan scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed as he said, there's something important at the station. A colleague was supposed to be looking after him, but she ended up with a case today, so, alright, leave him to me. I understood immediately. Just as I was about to take the little boy's hand, I noticed he had timidly hidden behind his father. He's a bit on the spectrum, because of what happened with his mom. Be good. Yun Yun, wait for daddy at auntie's house, okay? Officer Zhou patiently crouched down and spoke softly, finally coaxing a timid nod from the little boy. This scene made me instinctively touch my stomach. In my past life, I had also worried about my 2 children's mental well-being, afraid that Lu Mingyuan's repeated outbursts would negatively impact their development, ultimately leading to issues like autism. That's why I studied a great deal about parenting and child-rearing. As Zhou Yuan left, I saw gratitude in this young father's eyes. After saying goodbye to Zhou Yuan and closing the door, I led Yun Yun to the refrigerator and was about to ask him what he wanted to eat. Instead, he looked at my stomach and asked, completely out of the blue, Auntie, are you having a baby? This genuinely surprised me. Up until that moment, no one else had noticed I was pregnant, not even at the police station, where I hadn't mentioned it. In this life, I just want to claim what is rightfully mine, then, using what I know, I'll secure the best possible future for my child in advance. And of course, I need to stay far, far away from the Lu family. That's why I don't want Lu Mingyuan to find out I'm pregnant. Yun Yun didn't say a word, just nibbled on his finger and blinked at my belly, which reminded me of the autism Zhou Yuan had mentioned. That's right, Auntie is pregnant. There's a little brother and a little sister in here. Would you like to be friends with them later? I didn't think much of it. Just ruffled his hair and said with a smile, more to myself than to him. I saw a flicker of light in his eyes, but it was gone in an instant. After getting the milk and fruit, I led him to the sofa, had him sit down, and turned on the TV for him to watch. Agreeing to take care of Zhou Yuan's son wasn't because I had any interest in the young officer. Sure, he's handsome, but I've decided I don't want to get married again in this lifetime. I just want to devote all my remaining energy to my child's education. In my past life, my son and daughter both achieved great success, but my lasting regret was failing to give them a happy childhood. In this life, I want to build the best possible environment first, to make up for that past shortcoming. As for agreeing to Officer Zhou Yuan's request to look after his son, it was partly to repay him for his help. More than that, I feel an inexplicable tenderness and affection for the little boy nicknamed Yun. When I look into his big, blinking eyes, I'm reminded of my own daughter. In her previous life, her eyes were ranked among the most soulful in the world. What if I raised him as a future son-in-law? I sat down on the sofa with my laptop, looking at Yun, when this bizarre idea suddenly popped into my head. My daughter is successful in every way and incredibly beautiful. It's just in the marriage department. Like me, she's a complete failure. I couldn't help but laugh. I wonder if Officer Zhou would feel like he's sending a lamb into a tiger's den if he knew about this. No, I shouldn't let my thoughts wander any further. For some reason, the more I look at Yun, the more I find myself liking him. To shake off that antiquated notion of an arranged marriage, I immediately booted up my computer and pulled up the stock market. I thought I was prepared for it, but the moment the screen loaded, I was utterly stunned. All 3 stocks I had bought were up. One of them, called Zinhualian, had even surged by 70%. From what I remember, this stock's price skyrocketed by a staggering 18% at its peak in 2011, a true rags to riches story. However, since it achieved this through a backdoor listing, many investors at the time were still too wary to buy in. They were afraid that if they bought, it would just slump back to its former dismal state. But I knew this stock's bull run had at least another 6 months or so before it would start harvesting retail investors. What I never expected was that, having just bought it yesterday, when I checked today, the stock had already hit the daily limit up in just half a day compared to yesterday's price. Just as expected, this passive income is rock solid. As for the other 2 stocks I bought, Zinhualian and China Fortune, they're still on their original trajectories, showing excellent upward momentum. I did the math, and in just one day, the value of my assets nearly tripled. It figures, the fastest way to make money is, naturally, by relying on the memories from my rebirth. At that moment, it hit me, if I had more capital on hand, I could leverage up much faster. With that thought, I immediately called the law firm I had retained. I asked them how much longer it would take to secure half of the Liu family's assets for me. If I'd had that money yesterday, I'd probably be crossing the 10 million threshold today. In less than a month, I'd be hitting the 100 million mark, and then, following the plan. Hello, is this MS Wang? Before I could even finish my daydream about outdoing my own son's wealth from a past life, the call connected. Yes, it's me, I was thinking. But before I could finish, I heard Zhang Shufan's loud shouting and my own lawyer's laughter over the line. MS Wang. What a coincidence. The defendant in your case just showed up. Of all places, they had to come and make a scene right here at the law firm. Would you like to come down and see for yourself? Huh. I snapped back to attention instantly. How could I possibly miss a show this good? I quickly turned to look at Yun, who wasn't watching the TV but was instead staring at my stomach. Hey Yun, how about you come with Auntie to see a great show? We can come back and admire your future wife slowly, alright? I brought Yun to the law firm. Even before I stepped inside, I could already hear Zhang Shufan's hysterical shrieking. You bunch of money-grubbing crooks, picking on an old woman like me. Is that it? I walked in and saw Zhang Shufan sitting on the floor of the office, her hair disheveled, thrashing her body around like a madwoman. Get the money back. That's all my son's money. That bitch Wan Yujia, she must be the one who paid you off. And that's all my son's hard-earned money. A nearby security guard stepped forward to try and lift her up, but before he could even lay a hand on her, Zhang Shufan threw her head back and collapsed onto the floor, wailing, "They're hitting me, they're hitting me. Is there no justice left in this world? Come and see for yourselves." Liu Xianxian, who had been standing to the side, immediately chimed in. How dare you lay a finger on my mother? We'll see you in court. You'll be paying for this. The lawyer gave a helpless smile. Have you forgotten? This is a law firm. We're not exactly short on lawsuits. Liu Xianxian was clearly taken aback, but Zhang Shufan pressed on relentlessly. Don't you dare use the law on me. If you lay a finger on me today, you'll have to pay. The lawyers exchanged glances, each wearing an expression of speechless exasperation. I figured they probably rarely encountered someone so utterly unreasonable, someone you simply couldn't reason with using logic or the law. With people like that, there's only one approach that works, throwing a full-blown tantrum right then and there, screaming and shouting. Just as I was holding Yun's hand, enjoying the spectacle, Liu Xianxian turned around and spotted me standing in the doorway. I quickly stepped in front of Yun to shield her. You shameless bitch. How dare you show your face here? Lu Xuanxuan's expression instantly twisted with venomous hatred as she strode toward me. It's all because of you. You took our family's money. Give it back. The security guards were no match for a real harpy, but dealing with just Lu Xianxian was easy enough. They swiftly moved to block her path. Lu Xianxian flailed wildly, her sharp nails scratching several guards. Enraged, one of the guards kicked her squarely behind the knee. With a thud, Lu Xianxian dropped to her knees before me. I hastily took a step back. There's no need for such a grand gesture. Why don't you just die, you bitch? Lu Xianxian seethed with rage. Fortunately, the whole farce didn't last long before the police arrived. They swiftly apprehended the two individuals present, completely ignoring Zhang Shufan's hysterical protests. The lawyer on the side clearly wasn't idle either, recounting everything that had just happened to the police. The two were handcuffed and led to the police car, struggling all the while. As they were taken away, they shot me a look of pure venom. What a show that was. Ms. Wang, the retained lawyer, smiled at me. Your matter is settled. The funds will be deposited into your account within 3 business days. I nodded. Thank you for your help. Of course, the lawyer said. As for those 2 defendants from earlier, I'd estimate they won't be getting out for at least another couple of weeks. I couldn't help but laugh. Not bad. I spent the week in bed, resting for the pregnancy while trading stocks. Every single stock I bought soared. The money kept rolling in steadily. You could say I was raking it in hand over fist. During that time, Lu Mingyuan came looking for me, making a huge scene and accusing me of harming his mother. But Zhou Yuan threw him out. I really owe a lot to Zhou Yuan's help during this period. I checked the calendar and felt that my plan was just about ready to be set in motion. So I arranged a meeting with the CEO of Lu Mingyuan's rival company and put up $1 million to leverage a deal with him. I also informed him about Lu Mingyuan's dealings in counterfeit goods. What did the Lu family ever do to you to make you go after them like this? The rival CEO asked. I gave a faint smile. My ex-husband. Women can be truly terrifying. He doesn't understand what I've been through. So of course he doesn't get it. But as long as I achieved my goal, that's all that matters. To be honest, it's not really like I'm the one who took him down. In a past life, his company had already gotten into trouble for fraud. It's just that his main competitor was too busy dealing with a financial crisis to bother with him at the time. That's what allowed him to narrowly escape that crisis unscathed, but not this time. I sought out the boss of this company specifically to finish off Lu Mingyuan in one decisive blow. With all his fraud and deception, he got exactly what he deserved. A week later, the financial news exploded. A mysterious stock market wizard, with just $1 million in capital, shook the entire market. Every stock I invested in soared. My collaboration with the company's CEO was successfully finalized. With my help, Lu Mingyuan's crisis arrived with remarkable speed this time. First, the goods in his possession were seized, causing his cash flow to plummet. Immediately following that came the police investigation. Once the fraudulent activities were exposed, the only thing waiting for him was a takeover. While he was overwhelmed and scrambling, I contacted the bank again. Left with no other choice, Lu Mingyuan went to the bank to apply for a loan, hoping it would see him through this crisis. However, the answer was always the same. I'm sorry. We cannot approve your loan application. In an instant, Lu Mingyuan seemed to have aged a decade, his entire demeanor sinking into utter dejection. He never would have guessed that I was the one who tipped off the bank in advance. No one was going to help him. In less than 3 days, Lu Mingyuan was taken away. The Lu Group officially declared bankruptcy. The day Lu Mingyuan was arrested, I stood watching from not far away. How could I miss such a splendid show? I thought that was probably the end of it, but I never expected the real twist was yet to come. That day, I was at home watering my plants. My phone suddenly rang. I picked it up and saw it was Zhou Yuan calling. The moment the call connected, Zhou Yuan's voice came through from the other end. Yujia, there's something I have to share with you, said Zhou Yuan, his usually serious voice now tinged with a hint of suppressed amusement. I got a call from the team today to raid this Red Romance hotel for prostitution. Guess what happened? Zhou Yuan suddenly tossed the question to me, catching me off guard. After a moment's thought, I asked, did you spot someone I know? Yep, Zhou Yuan chuckled. Your ex-husband's mistress. She was sneaking around, checking into a hotel with another guy, and we just happened to catch them. Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh too. Zhou Yuan said that when he kicked the door in. Yan Momo was scared out of her wits, desperately trying to cover herself with the blanket. The guy next to her was a total coward and didn't lift a finger to help. They were both handcuffed and taken away. I was actually wondering how to break the news to Lu Mingyuan. But these two just walked right into it themselves. Yang Momo had intended to keep this whole affair under wraps, which is why she specifically had her own family members post bail. But as luck would have it, Zhang Shufan and Lu Xianxian were released that very same day. The two groups ran into each other, asked a few questions, and immediately flew into a rage, getting into a huge brawl right there in the police station. She grabbed at Yang Momo's clothes and slapped her across the face, screaming, "You little tramp, how dare you cheat on my son behind his back, how dare you hit me, how dare you." Yang Momo wasn't about to back down either. Especially with her own family right there. Zhang Shufan didn't get the upper hand at all, even the police couldn't hold them back. They almost got thrown right back in the slammer the moment they were let out. In the end, the two groups stormed off, red-faced and furious. Of course, I wasn't there myself. Zhou Yuan told me all this when he got back. We've grown much closer now, and we often take Yunyan out for meals together. I have to say, Zhou Yuan really is a good man. If I didn't already see his son as a potential son-in-law, maybe. The Lu family spent all their money to get Lu Mingyuan out. That very day, Lu Mingyuan went to Yang Momo's home. He dragged her out onto the street by her hair. While onlookers recorded the whole incident, they successfully went viral on Douyin. Lu Mingyuan slapped Yang Momo across the face, shouting furiously, "You bitch, I'll teach you to cheat on me. You useless loser, you can't do anything right, you deserve to be cheated on." Yang Momo's entire family came rushing in. It was quite the spectacle. As the fight went on, Yang Momo suddenly lost her temper. "Let me tell you something, Lu Mingyuan, not only have I been cheating on you, but the child isn't even yours." Hearing this, Lu Mingyuan froze on the spot. His eyes were bloodshot with rage. Nothing is more agonizing than raising a son who isn't your own. Even the Lu family was absolutely furious upon hearing the news. It's said that Zhang Shufan was rushed to the emergency room that very night. The fallout from this whole fiasco was Lu Mingyuan's utter disgrace and Yang Momo's internet-wide infamy. I feel no sympathy whatsoever, only a deep sense of satisfaction. They got exactly what they deserved. Finally, a few days of peace and quiet. There was a knock at the door. I thought it was Zhou Yuan returning, but to my surprise, it was Lu Mingyuan. The moment he saw me, he dropped to his knees with a thud. His eyes red-rimmed as he stared up at me. Yujia, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I lost my head for a moment. I'm begging you." He knelt at my feet, weeping bitterly, while I immediately retreated back inside and shut the door. I tried to close the door, but he suddenly thrust his hand out to block it. "Yujia, I know you still love me. Please, let's get back together. I swear I'll never cheat on you again." His eyes were wild and bloodshot, fearful. I took a step back. What if he flew into a rage and hurt the baby I'm carrying? That child is mine, isn't it, Yujia? For the child's sake, can't we just make up? Lu Mingyuan kept sobbing. Seeing I wasn't responding, he got up from the ground and began advancing toward me. Step by step, I hastily backed away, my mind racing frantically for a way out. Just then, I saw a tall, imposing figure suddenly approach from behind Lu Mingyuan. My heart instantly settled into a calm stillness. Yujia. Lu Mingyuan was desperately trying to pull me back when suddenly, someone from behind threw a punch, instantly subduing him. The person who arrived was none other than Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan looked at me with concern. "Are you alright? I saw your door was open when I got back, so I came to check. Thank God you're here." I breathed a sigh of relief. "You shameless woman, how dare you see another man behind my back?" Seeing Zhou Yuan arrive, Lu Mingyuan flew into a rage. He thrashed about wildly, as if he'd lost his mind. It was as if, in that moment, he was blaming me for Yang Momo's betrayal as well. When he flew into a rage, his strength was immense, and Zhou Yuan almost couldn't restrain him. In the end, he was sentenced to prison on multiple charges, including assaulting a police officer, breaking and entering, and threatening the safety of others. It's said that when Zhang Shufan heard the news, she collapsed to the ground. They managed to revive her. The tragedy is, he was left paralyzed. This paralysis laid bare the Lu family's true, ungrateful nature. With Lu Mingyuan in prison, Lu Xianxian treated her own mother as a burden, subjecting her to frequent abuse and harsh words. Their days of peace are over for good. As for me, of course, I'd dive right into the stock market, invest some money, and then live out my blissful life as a single, wealthy lady. 23 years later, Jiankong and Ping'an had both grown up, just like in his past life. Jian became the world's richest person. Perhaps because of the changes I made, Jian is even wealthier and more filial in this life than in the last. Even Anan, who entered the entertainment industry to pursue her dream, successfully became a top-tier star. At this year's Oscar ceremony, Anan successfully won the highest achievement award and is now a regular feature in all kinds of magazines. May I ask, how did you manage to raise two such successful children? The reporter, holding the microphone, had finally secured my interview, her eyes brimming with hope. I paused for a moment and thought, honestly, it's not much. Their own hard work is the real key. That's the honest truth. For my two children, their own effort is what truly matters most. The reporter asked me a few more questions, and I answered them all. That interview was plastered everywhere for promotion, and countless people rushed to hold me up as a role model. And today is my daughter Anan's wedding day. The man she's marrying is none other than Zhou Yun, the son-in-law I had my eye on from the very beginning. Their wedding was a spectacular affair, attended by dignitaries and celebrities from all walks of life. Even in that moment, I couldn't hold back my tears. My daughter has finally gotten married, she will have children and become a mother herself. But she won't have to go through the things I went through. Mom, I placed Anan's hand in Zhou Yun's myself. Watching him vow to care for my daughter for the rest of his life, Anan turned and hugged me. It was perfect. I have truly lived a good life. The wedding of the century was front-page news across all media outlets and remained a top trending topic on Weibo for a full month. Countless people were envious. On the third day after the wedding, Anan came back to visit me. In the evening, after our family finished dinner, Anan quietly slipped into my room. I sighed helplessly. Shouldn't you be with your husband? What are you doing here, Mom? Anan hugged my arm, beaming with joy, and whispered to me, what do you think of Uncle Zhou? He's had feelings for you for over 20 years. Are you really not going to consider him? Hearing that, I was taken aback. My daughter's marriage is settled, but I'm truly not ready to start a new family of my own. Mom, just think about it. Okay, Uncle Zhou is genuinely a wonderful man. Anan tugged at my arm, coquettishly clinging to my side. Feeling a bit lost, I got up to go to the living room for a glass of water. As soon as I opened the door, Zhou Yuan was standing there. I opened my mouth, at a loss for words. Zhou Yuan's face flushed bright red. Then, he produced a bouquet of roses from behind his back and handed it to me. Yujia, will you be with me? Story 2. In our previous life, my dorm roommates and I gave ourselves the graduation gift of climbing a snow-capped mountain. Li Xiaoxue, who came from a poor family, was incredibly envious. Unable to afford the gear, she resorted to threatening to slit her wrists to pressure us into taking her. The three of us had no choice but to pool our money to buy her a set of equipment, but to our surprise, halfway up the mountain, Li Xiaoxue spotted the boy she liked and deliberately broke away from the group to go find him. By the time we finally managed to find her, she had been abandoned and was suffering from severe hypothermia. After we rushed her to the hospital, she was admitted to the ICU. Her family, blaming us for taking her on a dangerous outing, forced us to pay the medical bills. When we couldn't come up with the money, her mother, in a fit of madness, trapped us inside the house and burned us alive. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing halfway up the mountain, with Li Xiaoxue beside me, her eyes practically sparkling. Check out that hottie. The head of our dorm, our big sister, immediately gave her a light punch. Shut up, you hopeless fangirl. To my shock, I realized it wasn't just me. Big sister and the others had been reborn too. This time, we were going to change our fate. Hello everyone, and welcome to Whispering Glow. A searing pain lingered in every inch of my skin. My throat felt clogged with scalding ash, each breath sending a sharp, piercing agony through my chest. My eyes snapped open. Instead of the expected darkness of a fiery inferno, I was met with blinding sunlight and the roar of a frigid wind. Beneath my feet was an uneven path of loose stones. Looking up, I could see a snow-capped peak. The air was thin, carrying a crisp, icy bite. Was I on a mountainside? My neck turned stiffly. The person standing next to me was wearing a familiar mountaineering jacket, standing on tiptoe to peer into the distance. Her eyes were frighteningly bright, and she kept making excited clicking sounds with her tongue. Look at that handsome guy, his physique is incredible. If only I could get his WeChat. It was Li Xiaoxue. In my past life, right here, she saw that guy. No matter how much we tried to dissuade her, she insisted on leaving the group to find him. It ended with her suffering severe hypothermia and landing in the ICU. She dragged us down with her, as her family hounded us to a dead end, leading to our deaths in a fire. the agony of being devoured by flames, the suffocating despair of choking on thick smoke, and the contorted face of her mother all flooded her mind at once. I couldn't stop my body from trembling, my hand gripping the trekking pole in a death clutch. "Shut up, you lovesick fool," a sharp shout rang out. Followed by a crisp smack, Li Xiaoxue staggered from the blow, nearly tumbling to the ground. I froze for a second, then looked up. It was Su Yuan, the head of our dorm. Her face was livid, her eyes filled with a ferocity I'd never seen before, and her fists were clenched tight. Li Xiaoxue covered her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. "Su Yuan," she cried, her voice a mix of hurt and fury. "Are you insane? How dare you hit me? How dare I?" Su Yuan sneered, taking a step closer to Li Xiaoxue. Her voice thick with suppressed rage. "Look around you, this is a mountain, not some playground for you to chase after guys." At this point, Su Yuan suddenly stopped, her eyes darting quickly between me and our other two roommates, Du Feifei and Han Xiao. My heart sank. This reaction from our usually gentle big sister was all wrong. I immediately looked over at Du Feifei and Han Xiao. Du Feifei's expression had also darkened. She was biting her lip tightly, arms crossed over her chest. Her body slightly tense. Clearly, she had remembered something too. Han Xiao walked straight over to Su Yuan and, frowning at Li Xiaoxue, said, "Li Xiaoxue, stop messing around. We're heading back down the mountain right now." "Heading back down?" Li Xiaoxue's voice rose as if she'd heard a joke. "We're already halfway there. We'll reach the halfway point soon. Why go back down now? Just because I glanced at some good-looking guy. You're all making a mountain out of a molehill." Making a mountain out of a molehill. Su Yuan glared at her, her tone turning even colder. "We're not climbing this mountain today. We have to go down, everyone, no exceptions." "No, I won't." Li Xiaoxue stiffened her neck, took a step back, her face full of defiance. "It took me forever to finally get to this snowy mountain. You can't just decide we're going back down on a whim. You're all just picking on me, targeting you." Du Feifei finally blurted out, her voice trembling slightly yet resolute. "Li Xiaoxue, I'm afraid you're going to get us all killed." "Get you killed?" Li Xiaoxue cut her off, her eyes filled with confusion. "What's wrong with all of you today? You're acting so strange." "I don't care. I'm not going down the mountain. If you want to go, go by yourselves." With that, Li Xiaoxue turned and started heading back up the mountain, clearly still intent on chasing after that handsome guy. Su Yuan reacted swiftly, grabbing her by the arm with such force that Li Xiaoxue cried out in pain. "Leaving? Not a chance." Su Yuan's voice was ice cold. "Today, you have two choices. Either come down the mountain with us, or write a formal statement, put it in black and white that you're leaving the group of your own free will, and that no matter what happens afterwards, it has nothing to do with us or the school." Li Xiaoxue was taken aback, clearly not expecting Su Yuan to pull this move. She struggled, trying to wrench her hand free from Su Yuan's grip. "Why should I write a statement?" she shouted. "You're just bullying me." "Bullying you?" Han Xiao pulled a small notepad from her backpack and held it out to Li Xiaoxue. "We're giving you a choice. If you insist on staying here, don't expect us to clean up your mess if anything goes wrong. That's right. You also need to call your parents and your school, to prove you're the one who insisted on going up the mountain. It has nothing to do with us." Li Xiaoxue's expression finally changed. She looked at the serious faces of the three of us, then at the pen and paper being held out to her, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. She probably sensed that something was off with us today, that we weren't going to humor her like we used to. "I'm not writing it." Li Xiaoxue was still putting up a tough front, but her voice had noticeably weakened. "You just don't want to take me hiking and are making excuses. Whether it's an excuse or not, you know the truth." Su Yuan released her arm, her tone leaving no room for argument. "You have 10 minutes to decide. Either come down the mountain with us, or write a statement of guarantee. After 10 minutes, we're leaving, regardless of your choice." With that, Su Yuan turned away from Li Xiaoxue and said to the rest of us, "Pack your things, we're heading down." Du Feifei, Han Xiao, and I quickly nodded and began gathering our belongings from our backpacks. Before the hike, Li Xiaoxue had shirked her duty, using the excuse that she wasn't as fit as us, and made us carry all the supplies. "Even if we go down the mountain, she won't get far. Besides, with all that arguing, the handsome guy is long gone by now." She stood there, her face turning pale then flushed. She kept glancing between us and the direction up the mountain, clearly wrestling with a decision. 10 minutes passed in a flash. Su Yuan checked her watch and said to Li Xiaoxue, "Made up your mind. Which one will it be?" Li Xiaoxue bit her lip, clenched her fists, and finally said with reluctance, "I'll go down the mountain with you." She probably understood that if she really signed that guarantee, no one would be able to help her if anything happened later. Besides, she didn't dare to actually stay behind alone in the snowy mountains. Su Yuan didn't say anything more, just uttered a cold, "Follow me." Our group began the descent down the mountain. Li Xiaoxue trailed behind the whole way, sulking. Every now and then, she would shoot us a glare and mutter something under her breath, probably cursing us out. I had no mind to pay her any attention, still reeling from the shock of having been reborn. So it wasn't just me, my eldest sister, Du Feifei, and Han Xiao. They all remembered their past lives too. The walk down the mountain felt unusually heavy. The cold wind whipped against my face, but it couldn't scatter the flood of memories churning in my mind. What on earth possessed the three of us in our last life to insist on bringing Li Xiaoxue along to climb that snowy mountain? Who was it that first suggested a mountain climbing trip for our graduation? Du Feifei suddenly spoke up, her voice scattered by the wind. I paused for a moment, my steps faltering slightly. "I think it was Han Xiao. You said you wanted to challenge yourself before graduation, and that the money we'd saved from our part-time jobs would just about cover it." Han Xiao sighed and kicked a small pebble at her feet. "If I'd known it would turn out like that, I'd have rather spent 2 weeks lounging at the beach." Su Yuan tightened her grip on the trekking pole, her voice laced with bitterness. "Remember how Li Xiaoxue cried to us back then?" The moment those words left her mouth, the memory from her past life flashed before her eyes, vivid and clear. It was a month before graduation. The three of us were in our dorm room, flipping through travel guides. Spread out on the table was the money we'd scraped together from part-time jobs, my 6 months at a bubble tea shop, Du Feifei's earnings from ghostwriting essays, and Han Zhao's wages from working as a supermarket promoter. Combined, it was just enough to cover a 4-person trip to climb a snow-capped mountain. "You guys are going to climb a snow mountain." Li Xiaoxue came in holding a freshly made cup of instant noodles. Spotting the guidebooks on our table, her eyes lit up instantly, only to dim again within seconds. "That's so nice. I've never seen a real snow-capped mountain in my life." The three of us exchanged a look and said nothing. Li Xiaoxue's family was poor, and she was on financial aid, but she was also lazy, always complaining that part-time jobs were too tiring. She'd rather lie in her dorm scrolling through her phone, so she never had any spare cash. For the entire following week, Li Xiaoxue was constantly sighing. During meals, she'd stir her free canteen soup and stare at the meat in our bowls. "Ah," she'd sigh, "if only I could go to the snow-capped mountains. I'd take so many photos to show the folks back home. What a shame. I guess that's just not in the cards for me." That evening, as we were packing in the dorm, she sat on the edge of her bed knitting a scarf. As she knitted, tears started to fall. "Do you all think I'm too poor to come? Is that why you don't want me? I know I don't have any money, but I really want to go. Couldn't you just take pity on me?" Seeing her cry, my heart softened a little. "It's not that we don't want you to come, it's just that climbing a snow-capped mountain costs money, and the proper gear isn't cheap. I can make do with the gear I have." Li Xiaoxue quickly wiped her tears away. "I can wear my dad's old coat, and my shoes will be fine. I just want to go with you, that's all." Du Feifei frowned. "That won't work. The mountain will be freezing. An old coat won't keep you warm at all. It's dangerous. I just knew no one in this world cared about me." That night, Li Xiaoxue made 3 cuts on her own wrist, and we took her to the infirmary. The doctor told us seriously, "Student Li Xiaoxue is showing signs of depression. Please try not to upset her." We were just kids who had never faced anything so serious before. We were scared out of our wits and felt terribly guilty. That night, the three of us huddled under the covers, whispering as we discussed the situation. "What if something really happens to her? We'd be responsible," I said, poking Han Xiao in the bunk above me. Han Xiao rolled over. "But the gear isn't cheap. Our money just barely covers travel and tickets for the 4 of us. Buying another set would put us over budget." Su Yuan sighed from the bed opposite. "I do feel sorry for her. We have shared a dorm room for 4 years. After all, should we try to pull a bit more? I could pick up a few extra shifts this month." And so, the 3 of us took on extra work for another half-month. I started going to the bubble tea shop an hour earlier every day. Du Feifei pulled all-nighters to take on 2 extra essays, and Han Xiao worked 2 extra weekend shifts. We finally scraped together enough money to buy Li Xiaoxue a set of hiking gear, a windbreaker, hiking boots, and thermal underwear. "Li Xiaoxue, we got you some gear. Try it on and see if it fits." When Su Yuan handed the equipment to her, Li Xiaoxue was so thrilled she jumped for joy. She grabbed the gear and immediately went to try it on. It fits perfectly, thank you guys so much. She spun around in the windbreaker, her eyes crinkling into happy slits as she smiled. I knew you were the best. Once I have the money, I'll pay you back double, I promise. Back then, the three of us were really happy about it. We felt good about helping out a roommate, thinking it would be a fond memory to look back on someday, but looking back now, that wasn't helping her at all. It was throwing ourselves into the fire. On the day of the hike, Li Xiaoxue was quite excited at first, chattering away as she followed behind us, but it wasn't long before she started complaining about being tired. I'm not in great shape, and this backpack is way too heavy. Could one of you carry it for me? She held out the pack of supplies towards me. I could see she really did look a bit pale, so I took it from her. Alright, you walk empty-handed for now. We can swap back once you've got your strength back. But once I took that load, I never got to hand it back. She always had an excuse. My feet hurt, I'm dizzy, I can't catch my breath. In the end, she just trailed at the back of the group, her pace slowing right down, that is, until we reached the halfway point up the mountain and spotted that group of guys. Li Xiaoxue's eyes lit up instantly, as if she'd been given a shot of adrenaline. All her tiredness vanished, and she quickened her pace to get closer to them. Hey, are you guys here to climb the mountain too? She said with a sweet, almost cloying smile to the guy in front. It's my first time, and I'm pretty clueless. Mind if I tag along with you? The guy glanced at her and nodded with a smile. Sure, the more the merrier. Li Xiaoxue, don't go with them, Su Yuan called out urgently. We're a group, it's too dangerous to go off with strangers. Li Xiaoxue turned back and waved a dismissive hand. It's fine, they don't seem like bad people. I'll just walk with them for a bit and catch up with you guys later. No way, it's easy to get lost in the mountains. You can't leave the group, I shouted after her, trying to catch up and pull her back. But she had already followed that group of boys into the distance. The three of us had no choice but to wait right where we were. We waited for nearly an hour, but there was still no sign of her. This isn't working, we have to go look for her. Su Yuan pulled out her phone to call, but the signal in the mountains was terrible, and the call wouldn't connect. Just as we were about to set out to find her, Han Zhao's phone suddenly rang. It was Li Xiaoxue calling. Hello, Li Xiaoxue, where are you? Han Zhao quickly answered the phone. Li Xiaoxue's voice, choked with tears, came through the line. Han Zhao, I'm lost, those boys left me behind. I don't know where I am, everything looks the same. I'm completely disoriented, and I'm so cold. Don't panic, Han Zhao tried to calm her down. Look around, do you see any landmarks, like a particularly tall tree, or a large rock? I don't know. Li Xiaoxue's crying intensified. I'm so scared, I twisted my ankle, I can't walk. Please, you have to come find me. The three of us didn't hesitate. We headed in the general direction she'd mentioned on the phone and searched for nearly 2 hours before finally finding her huddled beneath a large boulder. She was curled into a tight ball, her face deathly pale and her lips a purplish blue from the cold. Her jacket was wide open, the zipper not even pulled up. Li Xiaoxue, I rushed over and helped her up. Why is your jacket open? Don't you know how cold it is? She was dazed, her gaze unfocused. I was hot. I worked up a sweat when I was running earlier. Su Yuan felt her forehead, and her face instantly paled. Oh no, she's hypothermic. Quick, zip up her jacket. We need to get her down the mountain and to a hospital, now. The three of us took turns carrying her on our backs, stumbling and trudging our way down the mountain path. She wasn't light, and we were soon drenched in sweat from the effort, but none of us dared to stop. We all knew just how deadly hypothermia is in the snowy mountains. We finally made it down and managed to flag down a car to rush her to the hospital. The doctor said if we'd been just half an hour later, she wouldn't have made it. They sent her straight to the ICU. Doctor, how is she doing? I grabbed the doctor's arm, frantic with worry. The doctor frowned. She's still in critical care. Her condition isn't good. We need the medical fees paid immediately. 50,000 to start. 50,000 was no small sum for the three of us. We'd pretty much spent all our money on the trip. I'll go ask my parents for it. Han Zhao pulled out his phone. Let's just get her stabilized first. Su Yuan and I immediately contacted our families, scrambling together just enough to come up with the 50,000 yuan to hand over. Back then, we were still thinking that as long as Li Xiaoxue recovered, we could worry about repaying the money later. But we never could have imagined that those 50,000 yuan were just the beginning of the nightmare. More than a dozen of Li Xiaoxue's family members showed up and cornered us right outside the ICU doors. Was it you three who took our Xiaoxue up that mountain? A man in a floral shirt charged forward, jabbing his finger in our faces. Are you out of your minds? You think a place like that is some casual hike? Now you've landed our Xiaoxue in the ICU. What do you have to say for yourselves? I was stunned for a second before quickly explaining. Sir, it wasn't intentional. Li Xiaoxue got separated from the group. That's how the accident happened. Bullshit. Li Xiaoxue's mother suddenly rushed over, grabbed me by the hair, and slammed me against the wall. My Xiaoxue is a good girl. She'd never just wander off. You must have forced her. You're just jealous and led her into danger on purpose. Auntie, please don't hit her. Su Yuan hurried over to pull her away. Let's talk this through calmly. We've already paid 50,000 for the medical bills. The most important thing right now is for Li Xiaoxue to get the treatment she needs. You think 50,000 is enough to shut us up? Li Xiaoxue's mother shook off Su Yuan's hand, spraying us with spittle as she yelled, if anything happens to my Xiaoxue, you three will have to sell your blood and kidneys to cover the medical bills, and if she's left with any lasting damage, you'll be supporting her for the rest of her life. Du Feifei was trembling with rage. Auntie, be reasonable. Li Xiaoxue left the group on her own to go with someone else. We did everything we could to save her. Why on earth should we have to support her for life? Reasonable? Why should I be reasonable with you? Li Xiaoxue's mother suddenly slumped to the floor, slapping her thighs and wailing, my Xiaoxue is a college student. She was going to be a white-collar professional. Now you've ruined her, and all my hopes for the future are gone. If you don't pay up, I'll go to the school. I'll go to the education bureau. I'll make sure everyone knows you three are murderers. Her words left the three of us utterly speechless. Murderers? We were just trying to help her out of kindness. How did we end up being called murderers? What we never expected was that Li Xiaoxue's family actually went to the school to make a scene. They blocked the school entrance with a banner that read, "University students maliciously lead classmate into danger, leaving her life in critical condition." They even brought reporters to cover the story, blowing the whole thing up into a huge public scandal. In an effort to quell the public outcry, the school called the three of us in for a talk. How could you organize such a dangerous activity on your own? The academic advisor asked, frowning, his tone severe. Now that this has blown up into such a big mess, you've ruined the school's reputation. The university has decided to expel all three of you. Expelled? I couldn't believe my ears. Teacher, it wasn't our fault. Li Xiaoxue left the group on her own. What's the point of saying that now? The counselor cut me off. Her parents have been making a scene here every single day. The school has no other choice. Pack your things and leave the campus immediately. Don't cause any more trouble for the school. The three of us stood at the school gate, the expulsion notices in our hands, feeling a chill run through our entire bodies. We didn't dare tell our families, afraid of worrying our parents. We could only secretly rent a small place off campus, hoping to wait until the dust settled before figuring out what to do next. But Li Xiaoxue's mother had no intention of letting us off the hook. The day we returned to our rented apartment, we saw her standing at the door, a plastic bucket in hand, trying to hide. Did you think I wouldn't find you? She sneered, her eyes full of malice. Xiaoxue has already had to stop her medication because there's no money. Auntie, we really don't have any money. Please, just give us a little more time. Su Yuan tried to reason with her. Time? Haven't I given you enough time already? She suddenly upended the plastic bucket, and the pungent smell of gasoline instantly filled the air. If you don't hand over the money today, we're all going down together. The three of us turned deathly pale with fright. We tried to bolt for the door, but she had already rushed over and locked it shut. Open the door. Open it right now. Han Xiao pounded on the door, screaming at the top of his lungs. Li Xiaoxue's mother held a lighter, a twisted smile on her face. Open the door. I think you'd better save your breath. My Xiaoxue is lying in a hospital bed. What gives you the right to go on living? Today, I'm going to burn you all to a crisp to pay for what you did to my daughter. Are you insane? Li Xiaoxue is still in the hospital. If you burn us to death, who's going to pay her medical bills? I tried to reason with her. Medical bills? She laughed even more maniacally. I don't care. You hurt my daughter, so you have to die. Even if I go to prison, I'm taking you all down with me. She raised the lighter, and the flame shot up with a whoosh. The gasoline ignited instantly, erupting into a raging inferno. A wave of intense heat immediately engulfed us. Help, somebody help. Du Feifei screamed through her tears, desperately looking for an escape, but the room was filled with fire. There was nowhere to hide. The thick smoke choked me, and the fire seared my skin with an agonizing pain. staring at Li Xiaoshua's mother's deranged face. My heart was flooded with nothing but endless regret. If only I hadn't been soft-hearted and taken her to climb the snow-capped mountain. If only I hadn't pooled money to buy her gear, would we have ended up like this? I hate this so much. That was my final thought before I lost consciousness. Just thinking about how my previous life ended sends a chill down my spine. Thank goodness we've both come back. Thank goodness there's still time to change things. After walking for roughly 2 hours, we finally made it down the mountain and back to the guest house where we'd been staying. The moment they stepped into the guest house, Su Yuan pulled out her phone to book a ticket. She was determined to get rid of this walking disaster, to stop her from causing any more trouble. Here's your bus ticket back to campus for tomorrow morning. You're leaving tomorrow. Su Yuan's tone left no room for argument. Li Xiaoxue exploded instantly. Su Yuan, you're going too far. What gives you the right to kick me out? We agreed to spend a few days here together. Agreement. Su Yuan looked at her, her eyes utterly cold. You'll also have to return that set of mountaineering gear. We paid for it. There's no reason for you to keep it. You, Li Xiaoxue trembled with rage, pointing at us. You all look down on me. You think I come from a poor family. That's why you treat me like this. It's just a set of gear, isn't it? I'll pay you back the money someday. That won't be necessary. Han Xiao spoke up. We don't need the money. We just don't want anything more to do with you. Go get the gear right now. We're leaving first thing tomorrow, so you'd better start packing too. Don't waste any more of our time. Li Xiaoxue looked at our resolute expressions, one by one, and knew we were dead serious. Clenching her teeth, tears welling in her eyes, she turned and ran to her room, slamming the door shut with a loud bang. We all fell silent, and a deep quiet settled over the room. Su Yuan took a deep breath and said to us, everyone needs to stay sharp tonight, no more slip-ups. We leave tomorrow morning, and from now on, we cut all ties with Li Xiaoxue, no contact. Du Feifei, Han Xiao, and I all nodded in agreement. We will never allow the tragedy of our past life to repeat itself. In this life, we're going to live well. We'll never let ourselves be dragged down to ruin for Li Xiaoxue's sake again. The next morning, just as dawn was breaking, I was woken by the sound of birds chirping outside my window. The thought that today I'd finally be free of Li Xiaoxue and could continue our graduation trip filled me with such relief that even the weariness from my poor night's sleep began to fade. Get up and pack. Let's get an early start today so we can make it to the viewing platform by noon. Su Yuan's voice, tinged with excitement, came from outside the door. I scrambled out of bed, and after washing up, went to knock on Du Feifei and Han Jiao's door. The three of us packed our bags. There was no sound from Li Xiaoxue's side, and we didn't know if she had already left. Li Xiaoxue's door was shut tight. On the floor in front of it lay the set of hiking gear we had bought for her, the jacket and boots, now covered in dust. It was clear they had been tossed there carelessly and even stomped on. What chilled us even more was a crudely drawn death symbol scrawled on the door in lipstick. The bright red stood out starkly against the pale wood, like a silent curse aimed at us. That Li Xiaoxue, she's truly vicious. Han Xiao frowned, her voice thick with anger. She's gone, but she still can't leave well enough alone, stirring up all this nonsense. Du Feifei was also a bit shaken. She tugged on my arm and asked, you don't think she went to get someone to come after us, do you? Su Yuan stepped forward and pushed against Li Xiaoxue's door. She found it was unlocked and it swung open easily. The room was empty, the quilt was thrown on the floor, and on the desk sat a used-up tube of lipstick, Du Feifei's, which Li Xiaoxue must have swiped at some point without anyone noticing. Li Xiaoxue had long since vanished without a trace. She's probably gone. Su Yuan checked the room and breathed a sigh of relief. If she really wanted to cause trouble for us, she wouldn't have left the gear behind. My guess is she felt too embarrassed and left overnight. I looked at the equipment on the floor, then at the death mark on the door. A slight unease lingered in my heart, but it was mostly overshadowed by a sense of relief. At any rate, Li Xiaoxue had finally disappeared from our sight. Forget about her. Let's get out of here and not let her ruin our mood. Su Yuan picked up the gear from the floor and stuffed it into the bag the homestay owner had given us. This stuff is no use to us. We'll donate it to charity once we get down the mountain. The three of us picked up our luggage, settled the bill with the guesthouse owner, and set off towards the snow-capped mountains. With Li Xiaoxue, that dead weight, no longer holding us back, our steps felt much lighter. We chatted and laughed along the way, and the gloom brought on by the rebirth and memories gradually lifted. After walking for about an hour, we finally reached the foot of the mountain. Just as we were about to buy tickets to enter the mountain area, a familiar figure suddenly came into view. Isn't that Li Xiaoxue? Du Feifei pointed at a group of people not far away, her voice brimming with surprise. I followed her gaze and saw Li Xiaoxue standing with a few men who looked to be in their 40s. The men wore garish jackets, their hair was greasy, and they wore leering smiles on their faces. Li Xiaoxue was nestled against a slightly overweight man. Holding a brand new phone in her hand, she was laughing coquettishly, a world apart from the pitiful, helpless figure she had presented to us before. What is she doing with people like that? Han Xiao frowned, her tone full of bewilderment. The three of us instinctively ducked to the side, wanting to hear what they were saying. Xiaoxue, you're something else. You took such good care of me last night, so today, I'll take you up the snow-capped mountain. How's that sound? The slightly chubby man had his arm around Li Xiaoxue's waist, his hands wandering restlessly over her body, his eyes full of lecherous intent. Li Xiaoxue giggled and swatted his hand away, a hint of smugness in her tone. Of course, big brother, don't you worry. As long as you take me out to have fun, I promise I'll keep you happy. Not like those 3 uptight women I used to hang with. They tried to control me. Told me not to play with handsome guys. Look who's finding her own way now. Oh. Is that so? Another man, tall and skinny, leaned in with a grin. You've got 3 other friends. Call them over. Let's all have some fun. Hearing this, Li Xiaoxue sneered. Humph, they're just jealous. They pretended to be nice buying me gear before, but really, they just looked down on me for being poor. Well, look at me now. I don't need them. I can climb this mountain just fine, and I get to hang out with all these cool guys. Way more fun than being with them. Ha ha ha, that's our girl. Xiaoxue, you get it, the slightly chubby man roared with laughter, pinching Li Xiaoxue's cheek. When we get back tonight, big brother will buy you a new bag. You can show off properly in front of those 3 women. The 3 of us hid behind the tree, trembling with rage. So Li Xiaoxue never left last night. Instead, she'd been hanging around with these men, stooping to such shameless behavior just to climb a mountain. We actually felt sorry for her before. We must have been blind. No. I have to go and give her a piece of my mind, Han Xiao said, about to charge out, but Su Yuan grabbed her arm and held her back. Don't be rash, Su Yuan hissed, keeping her voice low. What good will it do to go over there now? She won't listen to a word you say, and she might even turn on us. Let's not stoop to her level. We should just head into the mountains and put some distance between us. Du Feifei and I quickly tried to talk Han Xiao down as well. She finally managed to swallow her anger, shooting Li Xiaoxue a venomous glare. The 3 of us straightened our clothes and were about to buy tickets when, to our surprise, those men noticed us. Well, look at these 3 beauties over here. The tall, skinny man's eyes lit up the moment he saw us. He pushed Li Xiaoxue aside and started walking towards us. Ladies, here to climb the snow mountain too. Why don't you join us? We've got experience. We can protect you. As he spoke, he reached out to grab my arm, his lecherous gaze utterly repulsive. Back off. Don't you touch her. Su Yuan stepped in front of me, glaring at him coldly. Ooh, feisty, aren't we? Cut the act. Your classmate told us you're no angels either. Other guys pay for us. We don't miss a beat. Come on, join us. The slightly chubby man walked over, looking us up and down with a grin. Stick with us. We'll make sure you have a great time today. Best part, you won't have to pay for a thing. Sounds good. Right, Li Xiaoxue followed, crossing her arms and standing beside the men, her eyes full of schadenfreude. My advice, you should just come with my guys here. They're the real deal. Not like you lot who couldn't even figure out how to climb a mountain properly. Li Xiaoxue, shut your mouth. Du Feifei's face flushed red with anger. You have no shame. But don't you dare drag us into your mess. I have no shame, Li Xiaoxue sneered. I call it being smart. Unlike you stubborn fools. Killing yourselves trying to do everything the hard way. Besides, my guys want to hang out with me. They want to spend money on me. That's my skill. You're just jealous. The lanky man's expression darkened the moment he saw we wouldn't budge. He reached out to grab Su Yuan's arm. You're refusing a favor. Well, you're coming with us whether you like it or not. Just then, a clear, firm voice rang out. What's going on here? Picking on girls in broad daylight. What kind of man does that? We turned toward the voice and saw a group of young men in professional hiking gear approaching. The one leading them was tall and handsome, with an unmistakable air of integrity in his eyes. The guys behind him wore matching looks of anger, their gazes fixed intently on the creepy men. Who the hell are you? Mind your own business, the slightly overweight man blustered, his bravado paper thin. The boy at the front let out a cold laugh and stepped forward. placing himself between us and them. Who we are doesn't matter. What matters is that what you just did constitutes harassment. I suggest you leave, now, or we're calling the police." Seeing that the other group was larger and looked like they meant business, the men paled instantly. They exchanged a glance, didn't dare say another word, and turned to leave. "Brother, don't go." Li Xiaoxue quickly grabbed the slightly chubby man's arm. "There are only 3 of them, we can take them." The portly man impatiently shook off her hand. "Stop making a scene, can't you see they have more people? Let's get out of here." With that, the group of men turned and left without a backward glance, abandoning Li Xiaoxue where she stood. Li Xiaoxue stood rooted to the spot, her face flushing with anger and then paling with humiliation. She looked at us, then at the retreating backs of the men, her eyes blazing with resentment and fury. Clenching her teeth, she took off after them. The boy who seemed to be the leader turned to look at us and said gently, "Are you both alright? I hope we didn't startle you." "We're fine, thank you," Su Yuan said gratefully. "We really didn't know what to do. We're so glad you were here. Don't mention it. It's only right to help someone in trouble," the boy said with a smile. "Are you here to climb the snow mountain too? If you don't mind, we could go together. It's safer to have company." The 3 of us exchanged glances, and we could all see the hesitation in each other's eyes. We had planned to continue climbing the snow-capped mountain, but after what just happened, and with Li Xiaoxue here, we just weren't in the mood anymore. "No. Thank you for the offer." Su Yuan shook her head. "Something's come up, so we need to change our plans. We won't be climbing the mountain." "Oh, that's a shame," the young man said with regret. "Well, travel safely. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us." We nodded, said our goodbyes, and turned to head back the way we came. "So, where are we headed now?" Du Feifei asked. Su Yuan thought for a moment, then said with a smile, "Since we're not climbing the snowy mountain anymore, how about we go to the beach? Didn't Han Xiao say she wanted to lounge by the sea for a couple of weeks? Let's go to the coast, really unwind, and forget all the unpleasantness from before." "Great, I've been wanting to go to the beach forever," Han Xiao exclaimed excitedly. I nodded in agreement, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. Whatever happens to Li Xiaoxue from now on, it's none of our business. In this life, we're going to live for ourselves. We'll fully enjoy our graduation trip and never compromise our own happiness for anyone ever again. Those 2 weeks by the sea were the most carefree days I've had since my rebirth, with the salty, damp sea breeze brushing against my cheeks, my feet sinking into the soft sand, and watching the waves roll onto the shore again and again. All the previous pressure and fear were completely washed away. The 3 of us rented a beachfront cottage with an ocean view. Every morning, we'd watch the sunrise together, then take a walk along the shore collecting seashells. In the afternoons, we'd either play cards back at the cottage or explore the nearby food street, and in the evenings, we'd sit on the sand chatting and stargazing. Han Xiao even tried her hand at tide pooling like the locals. She didn't find much, but she was grinning from ear to ear like a little kid. "I wish we could just stay here forever," Du Feifei said with a look of pure contentment. She was lounging on a beach chair, wearing sunglasses, and sipping an iced coconut water. Su Yuan gave her shoulder a playful pat and said with a smile, "Once we're all working, let's make a pact to come back here every single year." Looking at the 2 of them, my heart was filled with warmth. If it hadn't been for Li Xiaoxue in our past life, our graduation trip for the 3 of us would have been this relaxed and joyful. In this life, we've finally reclaimed the happiness that was rightfully ours. The 2 weeks flew by. We packed our bags and reluctantly left the seaside to return to school. The moment we stepped onto campus, we could sense something was off. Students on the path were whispering among themselves, glancing our way every so often with curious, probing looks. "Why is everyone staring at us like that?" Han Xiao frowned, tugging at her clothes uncomfortably. Su Yuan also sensed something was off. "Maybe something happened at school. Let's get back to the dorm first." We quickened our pace toward the dormitory. Just as we reached the entrance, we overheard a few girls murmuring, "Have you heard? Li Xiaoxue had an accident." "Really? What happened to her?" "I heard she was scuba diving at the beach and had an accident. She's still in the hospital being treated." "What? How did that happen?" "I thought she went mountain climbing in the snow with her roommate. Who knows? I'm not really sure about the specifics." Hearing the words "Li Xiaoxue is in trouble," the 3 of us stopped in our tracks and looked at each other. Why would she go diving? My heart sank. In my last life, Li Xiaoxue had her accident on a snowy mountain. How did it become a diving incident in this life? Su Yuan's expression darkened. "Whatever happened to her, it's none of our business. let's not worry about what others say. We should head back to the dorm first. We had just reached the dormitory entrance when we saw a familiar figure blocking the way. It was Li Xiaoxue's mother. She was dressed in old clothes, her hair was a mess, and her eyes were red and swollen. The moment she saw the three of us, it was as if she had spotted a lifeline. She rushed over immediately. "You're finally back. Give me back my daughter," she shrieked hoarsely, grabbing my arm so tightly her fingernails nearly dug into my flesh. "This is all your fault. If you hadn't abandoned her back then, how could she have gone diving and gotten hurt? You have to pay for her medical bills." Students passing by gathered around, pointing at us and whispering among themselves. "Let go of me first." I tried to wrench my arm free from her grip. "Her decision to go diving is her own business. What does it have to do with us? She's an adult, capable of making her own choices. Nothing to do with you." "How can you say that?" Li Xiaoxue's mother threw a tantrum, plopping down on the ground and wailing. "My daughter went out with you, you abandoned her. And that's why she got hurt. If you don't pay the medical bills, I'm not leaving. I'll make sure everyone knows how you bullied my daughter." Han Xiao turned pale with anger and stepped forward to argue, but Su Yuan held her back. Su Yuan crouched down, looking coldly at Li Xiaoxue's mother. "Stop making a scene here. She was the one who refused to stay with us. She threw away the gear we bought for her and ran off with another man in the middle of the night. Don't you know any of this?" "I don't know. All I know is my daughter went out with you, so you're responsible." Li Xiaoxue's mother wouldn't listen, continuing to wail and roll on the ground. Just then, Du Feifei pulled out her phone from her bag, tapped open a video, and held it in front of Li Xiaoxue's mother. "See for yourself, we filmed this at the foot of the mountain. See what your daughter was really up to." In the video, Li Xiaoxue was snuggled up to the slightly chubby man, giggling uncontrollably. She was saying things like, "I don't need them, I can climb the mountain just fine on my own, and they're just jealous of me." There were also scenes of the men getting handsy with her. The other students saw the video, and the murmurs grew louder. So that's the kind of person Li Xiaoxue really is. No wonder she got into trouble, hanging out with a guy like that. It was only a matter of time. Her mother is so unreasonable. It was clearly her daughter's own fault, yet she's trying to blame others. Li Xiaoxue's mother watched the video, her face turning pale then flushed with anger. Her sobs gradually subsided. She never expected us to have recorded this, and for a moment, she was at a loss for words. "Your daughter is an adult. If even you can't control where she goes, why should we, who are neither family nor friends, be responsible?" Su Yuan stood up, her tone icy. "The diving accident was her own choice. We have no obligation to pay her medical bills." Li Xiaoxue's mother bit her lip, her eyes filled with resentment, but she could no longer utter a single word demanding we take responsibility. She knew that with this video as evidence, no amount of making a scene would help her cause. It would only make her look worse. She slowly got up from the ground, shot us a fierce glare, then turned and slunk away. The other students around us gradually dispersed, and the three of us finally breathed a sigh of relief and headed back to the dorm. Thank goodness Du Feifei recorded the video back then, or we'd really be in a tough spot trying to explain ourselves today, Han Xiao said, leaning against the door and patting his chest. Du Feifei smiled. "I just had a feeling Li Xiaoxue would try something, so I recorded it on a whim. I never thought it would actually come in handy." Su Yuan sat in her chair, took a sip of water, and said, "But I have a feeling her mother won't just let this go. We'd better be careful." Sure enough, not long after, word got out that Li Xiaoxue's mother had gone to the school to make a scene. She demanded the school pay her daughter's medical bills, claiming the school's negligence in supervision was what led to the incident. But the school wasn't having any of it. The principal called her into his office directly, presented the video Du Feifei had taken, along with other evidence of Li Xiaoxue being with those men. He said, "Student Li Xiaoxue voluntarily went out with others during the holiday break. Any accident that occurred is unrelated to the school. The school has no obligation to pay her medical expenses. If you continue to cause trouble here, we will call the police." Li Xiaoxue's mother was left speechless by the principal's rebuke. She then started making a scene in the principal's office again, but this time, no one paid her any attention. To everyone's shock, a few days later, word spread through the school that Li Xiaoxue's mother had stormed into the principal's office carrying a bucket of gasoline. She intended to douse it and threatened the principal, demanding the school pay for medical expenses. During the ensuing struggle, a security guard knocked the lighter from her hand, and the gasoline ignited instantly. She couldn't get away in time and was badly burned in the fire. The principal and the security guard also sustained minor injuries. In the end, Li Xiaoxue's mother was rushed to the hospital and ended up in the very same ICU as Li Xiaoxue herself. We were all three of us studying in our dorm room when we got the news. Serves her right, Han Xiao said, putting her book down, her voice devoid of any sympathy. If she'd faced reality sooner and stopped trying to pin the blame on everyone else, she wouldn't have come to this. Du Feifei nodded in agreement. It's karma, I guess. Last time around, she burned us to death. This time, she's the one who played with fire and got burned. She got what was coming to her. I gazed out the window, my heart at peace. The hatred from a past life and the entanglements of this one finally came to an end as Li Xiaoxue and her mother reaped what they had sown. I later heard that Li Xiaoxue suffered severe brain damage from prolonged oxygen deprivation during the dive. Even after being resuscitated, she was left with debilitating aftereffects and became unable to care for herself. Her mother was also revived, but with extensive burns covering her body, requiring long-term treatment. Their family, never well off to begin with, was now pushed deeper into hardship, forced to rely on the support of relatives and friends. The three of us successfully completed our studies and graduated. On graduation day, the three of us geared up and went to climb a snow-capped mountain. That's the end of today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave a comment saying happy every day, wishing you all happiness each and every day from Wei Guang.